Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SE Talk und Sie wissen schon, wenn ich so schon mal starte, dann habe ich einen Interviewgast und bei mir habe ich ein sehr spannendes Unternehmen, Firesteel Resources, Michael Hepworth. Er ist Präsident und CEO des Unternehmens und er wird uns die Company jetzt einmal präsentieren. Zwei interessante Sachen. Erstens einmal, Sie starten mit der Produktion und das zweite Mal, Sie starten mit der Produktion in Europa, in Finnland. Und das ist nicht nur das Einzige, was an der Company spannend ist, aber da kommen wir im Interview noch weiter drauf. Michael, thank you to have time, and I say this in my German introduction. Have many interesting points, but two are major points for me are very important. First, you're close to production, and the second is your mine is in Europe, in Finland. And it makes a little bit unusual than normally Europe, or in the old days, Europe was not really in the focus for mining, but especially North Europe, Finland, Sweden is coming in the focus of the mining. So how it comes that you build up or have a mine in Finland?
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Joe. I think, one of the things that people forget is that actually Finland is considered to be the number one mining jurisdiction in the world. The Fraser Institute put out a research study just recently, and Finland came up. And I think the whole of Scandinavia is more and more focused on mining and are seen as attractive jurisdictions because of rule of law, political stability, that kind of thing. That said, the reason we got into this was not because we were particularly targeting Finland, but it was more, I would say, serendipity. We were just lucky that we heard about this opportunity and we chased it down and we were successful. But, it's a very attractive jurisdiction, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to work there. And the project is interesting because it's probably the second largest mine in Finland, making it one of the largest gold mines in Europe. And what we're very lucky with is that this mine is fully built, it's fully permitted, it's funded to production, and we're likely to restart production in October of this year. So it's a very, very short timeline. And in addition to that, we've just recently announced our PEA, which is very robust, and so there's some very attractive numbers associated with this mine.
Come to my first question. The previous owner, what they spent on the property to set up this infrastructure?
Now, this is very interesting because they spent in the region of 220 million euros to build this mine, which is an enormous sum of money. And unfortunately, they made a number of mistakes, mostly in the way that they were mining it. They didn't operate it particularly well, but we've been lucky. We've spent the last probably year looking at what went wrong and what's needed to fix it. And we're confident that we can fix it. I think the biggest problem they had was that they were not really mining people, and this does require an engineering focus. So we've now got 4 mining engineers that are hired that are working towards resolving it, resolving the issues and making this a success.
When the production stops at this mine?
It stopped in 2014. It only ran for 2 years. So the equipment, the mill and the plant is just about brand new. The paint is barely worn on it, and it's kind of like a, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes Maybach plant. I mean, it's top of the line, very, very good equipment. It's all Outertech Mezzo equipment, and it does need a little bit of work. We're probably going to spend about, in total, before we get into production, about $7 million, which we do have in the bank currently. It's early June and we're going into production, as I say, in October. We have over $10 million in the bank, and we've spent, a fair amount of the capital that we require. So we're quite confident that we're funded to production.
What you must pay for this project?
This is another interesting thing. This mine, when it was publicly listed in Sweden on the OMX, it originally had a market cap of about 50 million euros. When we bought it, the market cap had fallen to about 16 million euros, which we think was undervalued. But we ended up by paying $20 million, that's US dollars, for it. So I think we got a real bargain here. We got a mill and mine that is probably worth, well, with the PEA, the NPV is just over $90 million, and so we paid $20 million for it.
My concern is what's really fascinating for me is you get infrastructure for 200 or over 200 million, what they spend. You pay for this company 20 million, but your market cap itself is only 20 million. Is this right?
Well, it's one of the interesting things, and it, from a CEO's point of view, it's a frustrating issue that our market cap is not higher, and I think there's probably two things that are affecting us. One is gold stocks at present are not attracting a lot of attention, particularly in Canada, where marijuana stocks and cryptocurrencies and things like that are generating much more excitement. The second issue is that this requires a lot of marketing, and we are spending money on marketing, and we are doing significant marketing, but marketing takes time. It's like a flywheel, as you know, and it starts slowly, and as it begins to build momentum, I think you'll see that our market cap will reflect the value in the company. And certainly once we get to production and there is cash flow, I think the market will be forced to reprice this.
That's for sure. I think a lot of people are maybe have some problems in me, or the real question is, can you fix really these technical problems what the previous owner has on the program, and can you do it better than the other ones? That's one of the key questions, I think.
I think it is an important question, and it's something that we've spent a year working on, trying to understand all the issues. I think the biggest problem that the previous owners had was they didn't understand, because they were not mining people. They did not, although they were geologists, they did not understand how to mine this deposit, and it requires very selective, targeted mining. What they were doing was bulk mining. They were doing blasts of 60,000 tons, mixing ore and waste, and they were getting a throughput mill grade of about 0.6 grams per ton, when they should have been getting about 1.3, 1.4 grams per ton. So what we're going to do is we're going to be very, very selective. We're going to blast ore and waste separately. So there may be fairly big blasts of waste, and then we'll do maybe small blasts of 5,000 tons a day, taking out the ore separately and processing the ore that we mine, rather than trying to separate it after the blast. We will actually mine it more like an underground mine is mined, where you actually are blasting waste and ore separately, and you're targeting ore very, very tightly so that you don't process a lot of waste material. And the problem with the waste material here is it's very hard and has no gold. So if you're processing a lot of it, which they were doing, you end up by A, driving up your costs, and B, increasing the maintenance, because it's so hard it damages the equipment over time. And you're processing material that is barren. So we think that if we are able to mine selectively, the ore itself is actually much softer. We can fragment it correctly, which wasn't happening before, and we can process it. So we're actually going to start mining in August, and what we want to do is stockpile, so we've got sufficient to keep the mill fed. And that's another issue, because what they were doing was they were underfeeding the mill, and you never got the optimum performance from the mill. Mm-hmm. And then there were some technical problems with processing. The regrind circuit wasn't large enough, so they weren't doing effective regrind. They were using more cyanide than was necessary. And in addition to that, they were using a kind of carbon that didn't really release the gold the way it should have done. So there were a lot of little mistakes, but they all add up. You know, you lose 0.1 of a gram here and 0.1 of a gram there, and very soon you've gone down from a profitable 1.3, 1.4 grams per ton grade to 0.6, which is what they did. And, their costs just went through the roof, and that put them out of business.
Mm. So that's mean the mine is open pit. I see it from the picture, from the presentation, that that's an open pit mine. And what is the size of the mill? How is the daily throughput?
The mill is a 250 ton an hour mill, so it's a big mill.
Okay.
And it has a capacity of about 2 million tons a year. They never ever got to that capacity. The throughput was increasing, but they never actually got the mill up to capacity. Mm-hmm. So that was another issue, because you don't really want to run these mills under capacity. But we've got, as I say, we've got a plan to do that by campaigning and mining in advance, so we can stockpile sufficient ore to process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I see this on the page that the previous head grade was going down by the previous owner. So it's really a problem.
Yes. So that was the thing that actually killed this mine, was the fact that their head grade ended up by being so low, and that was through dilution because of poor mining practices.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Pooh. Look, it sounds for me a little bit too good. When you have a company, you have a 20 million market cap, and you have, and this is also an interesting thing, you have 80 million on tax credit.
Well, actually, I need to correct that. We were led to believe it was 80 million. We now discovered it's actually $150 million, and the Finnish government has approved that. So I don't see us paying any taxes in the short term on this.
I'm happy when you pay in the long run. So it means that you make good money out of it.
Well, we believe that we know that there are 3 other exploration properties, all that have had good gold showings. So one of the things we want to do is spend some money on exploring those other properties. Mm-hmm. And the ideal is that, we can actually, if we can create other pits close by, we've got as much gold as we need and as much ore as we need to keep the mill fed and to actually increase the throughput. So and increase the life of the mine as well.
Mm-hmm. So what do you expect now from the production side when you need 2-3 months that you're running on commercial production, or maybe a little bit longer? So what is your really targeting for next year on gold production?
In the first 12 months, we think we'll be able to produce about 69,000 ounces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not bad.
So,
do you have any cash costs on it? What do you expect?
Yeah, the cash costs are expected to be $838 an ounce.
$800?
And $38 an ounce.
Okay, that's a pretty healthy margin.
Yeah, the margins are good. This mine will probably throw off, assuming we find no more gold, which, as I say, I think is unlikely, but it's certainly possible. But the cash flow for the life of mine is $138 million free cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this should be this should be a mine that throws off a decent amount of cash, decent amount of profits. Assuming that we can find more gold, the life of the mine should extend. So there's a lot of upside with this project.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I think it was a good starting interview. I'm really happy to see when you start really with the production how it looks like, but it sounds unbelievable that somebody do so many mistakes, build a perfect plan for 200 million and you get it really for nearly nothing. But what I'm really frustrating is when I look at your market cap and your cash, what you have, that you get no credit for this on the market.
Not yet, but I think, as I say, once we get the cash flow going, I think the market will be forced to reprice this. So sure. I think it's a temporary situation right now.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So when the market realizes that you're on the right direction, it will go immediately up. So for sure, that's clear. That's clear. That's 100%. Michael, thank you for this introduction.
Thank you, Joe.
And it was really a pleasure to me to talk with you. And it's an unbelievable project what you have here.
Well, let's stay in touch. Thank you. Well, let's stay in touch and give you updates as we go.
Ja, perfekt. Sounds great. Ja, das war jetzt ein Update von dem CEO und Präsident von Firesteel und ich muss ehrlich sagen, es ist nahezu unglaublich. Sie haben es ja sicher auch gehört, Sie haben eine Mine gekauft für 20 Millionen. Die Marktkapitalisierung des Unternehmens ist 20 Millionen, Cash haben Sie 10. Infrastruktur wurde dort gebaut für über 200 Millionen. Der Tax Credit, was Sie haben, ist noch höher als diese hier ausgewiesenen 80 Millionen Euro, ist nahezu unglaublich, sind in Finnland und das Problem, das ihr voriger Besitzer gehabt hat, der 2014 die Produktion eingestellt hat, ist, dass sie Kleinigkeiten schief gemacht haben, es waren scheinbar nicht die richtigen Leute am Ruder und sie haben jetzt mehr oder weniger die Fehler erkannt und wollen jetzt die Fehler nicht mehr machen. Hier sehen Sie ein gutes Link zu einem schönen Video, der zeigt die Infrastruktur, die dort ist, die ganze Gebäude und so weiter, also eine richtig große Anlage. Und was auch spannend ist hier diese Head Grade. Sie sehen hier, wie der Head Grade runtergegangen ist über die Quartale bis 2012 bis 2014, ist gefallen auf 0,6 Gramm pro Tonne und gestartet haben es mit 1,2 Gramm und auch das Gestein hat 1,2 Gramm und das Problem ist, dass sie Waste, also Abfall, Abraum und Ore gemixt haben und dadurch diesen Low Head Grade bekommen haben und das ist der Key-Fehler gewesen von denen und deswegen sind sie eigentlich abgestürzt und die wollen die natürlich deutlich besser machen. Die Chance ist absolut da, ist unglaublich, dass man diese Mine um diesen Preis bekommen hat. Der Markt glaubt es nicht und die Spekulation ist da, also können sie es schaffen, ja oder nein? Die Zukunft wird es uns zeigen. Das war von Firesteel Resources im Juni 2018. Tschüss und Baba.